Hey, it's Dr. J, and guess what? It's Tuesday. What's Tuesday? It's Nutrition Tips Tuesday. And it's one of my favorite parts of the day because get up in the morning on Tuesday, and I'm going to be chatting with some of the guys, the SAC, but also my great friend and absolute legend and icon in the fitness industry, Jamie Hayes. Jamie's been helping people with health and fitness, but also over the years now, he's now the CEO of three companies that helps people with their nutrition, wellness, and weight loss. Now, his company's actually helped people all around the world lose thousands and thousands of kilos, and it's all done safely. And he's been sharing these things with us in the Sales Authority Club and helping us make sure that we're ready and well and healthy to get out and make sure that we make more sales so we can have the freedom to do all the things that we love to do. And I must say, over the last, I think these 8 weeks now, I've significantly changed some of the things and being in front of mind on what not to do and what to do. So I can't wait to see what Jamie is going to share with us today. So welcome, Jamie. Thanks for joining us this
Hey,
morning.
Steve. And look, I've got to start with some trivia that there's one fact that, I mean, you and I are connected on a whole lot of range of different issues, but we're both Aquarians, aren't we?
That's right. We're both Aquarians. I'm a January Aquarian. You're a February
Correct, that's
Aquarian.
right.
So we're all these free spirit, aren't we, mate?
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, firstly, I've been getting great reports from people, which is fantastic. And, it's good to hear, people like yourself are changing their eating style. And that's also leading to greater physical activity as well. But gee, I know you always hold people accountable. I did stop swimming. Yesterday was my last day. It was so freezing. I thought I am going to turn to an iceberg. So I didn't swim this morning, but I did do my weights and I did cook my breakfast, which is good.
Yeah, well, you've always been a person of routine. You get up at about 4:30 every morning and go
Correct.
through things so you can have that quiet, and then you hit the sack jack in a reasonable hour, so you're fresh in the morning. You've been following that routine for many years now.
Oh, yeah. And it's definitely a weight loss secret, which is whatever time you naturally wake up, make sure you're asleep and in bed, or in bed and asleep, at least 8 hours before that. So just count backwards. So then you never have to use an alarm clock, to force waking up. But whenever you naturally wake up, that might change through summer and winter and seasons and things like that. So I typically, because I do naturally wake up around 4:30, I'm in bed by 8, I don't care. I mean, people think, dinner parties, I'm rude. I just go to bed. And if people ask us out or come over for dinner, we always ask them to come early.
Okay, good. Yes. Well, I remember when I popped over to Brizzy, your place. We had dinner quite early, and then we're ready to rock and roll. So it was
Yeah,
got to get up early in the morning. Got to go.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah, self-protection.
absolutely.
Now, Steve, I'm fortunate to have two grandsons, and without asking permission, borrowed some toys to share a visual message with everybody. Now, you talk about VAK, which stands for, what does it stand for?
Visual, auditory, and kinesthetic.
Correct. And so I thought we've been talking, about food in a very auditory way, and particularly meal planning, which is so important. And just as a quick review, one of the biggest tips I can share is to know what you intend to eat. So you pre-plan your meals, so you pre-plan your shopping, so you're always surrounded by the foods at home, at work, and travel that are going to support your plan. That way you don't get caught out, and it's so much easier. So I want to really focus on pre-planning, and then after that, I've got a little personal journey I'm going to share with people about a dietary lesson that I learnt, which my body taught me.
Oh, that'd
So
be great.
I'm going to switch now. This is a big reveal. I'm going to switch to my other camera. Let's see. Let's see if we can do this. I'm going to switch to my other camera. Oh, there we are. Good. Can you
Oh,
see me now?
you're gonna have to show me how to do that.
Absolutely. So we've got our Lego up here now. Now, what we've got is breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, and snack. Okay. So now red, we've got three macronutrients: protein, carbohydrate, and fat. So red is going to be the protein. So we want to get some protein in at breakfast. It's typically difficult to get enough protein in at breakfast to spread it evenly throughout the day. Lunch and dinner, we tend to have a bigger protein serve. So think, what's going to be my protein for breakfast? It might be eggs and bacon. This morning, I had my typical breakfast, which is one rind of lean bacon, and then I have either some. Well, this morning I had chicken livers and two eggs, but sometimes I might have lamb livers, just a little bit of lamb liver, because it's so high in nutrient density. Because one of the things we want to achieve is to prioritize protein, but have a high nutrient diet. And liver is very, very nutritious. And then this is the fat, so yellow is the fat. So we might add, a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of butter. But if we're having a very fatty protein, we don't actually need to add the fat. And it's good to have some greens there. So,
what's an example of a fatty protein?
oh well, of course, some fish are very fatty. Bacon itself, if you don't cut off the fat, it's quite fatty. Some cuts of meat are quite fatty.
Okay.
So, if you've got, and it's quite okay having high fat meat, just don't add the fat. But let's say you're choosing, a lean source of protein. And Steve, let me ask you a trick question, and I've set you up there, haven't I? Are eggs a good source of protein?
Yes, they are.
Well, indeed you're correct. However, on a curry for curry basis, eggs provide more fat than they do protein. So they're actually heavier on a curry for curry basis fat than they are in protein. But you're quite correct. They're a fantastic source of protein, and they're very high in nutrient density. They've got a whole lot of other nutrients as well. So let's say we've got relatively lean source of protein. We're going to add some fat, which might be some butter, or it may be some little bit of olive oil, or whatever like that. And it's nice to have some greens. Put a bit of spinach with those eggs. Some greens. Now, then let's focus on our lunchtime meal, and this is. See, we've got a bigger block, so it's a bigger protein block, so we might have a larger protein serve, maybe the size of the palm of our hand. And, we do encourage people in the beginning to actually measure their protein serves before cooking them, not to limit the amount of protein, but to ensure they get adequate protein. And then, assuming it's a lean protein, we're going to add some fat. And at lunchtime, we want to add at least 2 serves of greens. And then we're going to do exactly the same in the evening. We're going to plan a good protein meal. If it's lean, we're going to add some fat. If it's not, we're just going to add some greens there. And then we've got a mid-morning and mid-afternoon protein snack, particularly for people who are starting their weight loss journey. And because we find that by spreading their protein out and having a little bit of mid-morning, mid-afternoon protein, it satiates and helps us prevent hunger as we're losing weight and your body's adapting. After a period of time, some people, their body adapts and gets ready access to their stored body fat, and they're completely comfortable without that mid-morning or mid-afternoon snack. But if you find that you get home, at 5 o'clock or 5:30, and it's wine o'clock, and you've got low blood sugar, and I've got this little purple thing hiding here, that's a wine or a beer or whatever like that, then you might find topping up with a protein shake or something like that in the afternoon is very helpful. So you might choose to have a glass of wine with the meal, not before, but with the meal. But remember, we have water for thirst and grog for flavour. So I'm just going to hide that little baby. And over here, this is all, if we don't plan for this, suddenly we've got this processed food, stopping at the McDonald's or the cafe or cappuccino and muffin, or we're having a meeting with somebody and we're hungry. And so they serve up some crap and we can't say no. So you really, you don't want to go into meetings hungry, particularly if they've got those mince or cakes and things like that.
I'm going to jump in here now with those little red squares. You got the red square in the morning. Now, sometimes breakfast is good and sometimes it's not. I'm a cup of tea person in the morning, and then off we go.
And
You've got
Steve,
a
so it's okay.
uncooked protein. Now, I recall from last week when we did our nutrition tips, we were talking about around about, as a formula of about 70 grams per day, and that would be so forth. Could you remind everyone on the measurement of protein, if it's cooked or non-cooked, and what size or how many grams?
Yeah, typically for somebody seeking to lose weight, they want to go for about a gram to a gram and a half of protein per kilogram body weight. So if somebody weighs 70 kilograms, they probably want 70 to 105 grams of protein. Now,
That's per serve. That's per serve. Is that right?
No, per meal.
Per meal.
Sorry, no, I beg your pardon, per day.
Per day.
Yeah, per day.
So that could be in those squares there. We'd have to have around about 70 to 100 grams. So it might be 20
In total. So right across the day, in
so
total.
20, 40, 40 or something like that. Now, is it better to actually have that evening meal earlier and have it smaller and have lunch bigger?
Well, whatever suits you. Definitely there is increasing evidence that I'm reading that if somebody has their evening meal earlier, so that there is a few hours before they go to bed, and for some people, they sleep better if it's 4 hours between finishing their evening meal and going to bed. So many people are bringing forward that evening meal, not leaving it too late, but bringing it forward, and that works
not
better.
eating just before you go to sleep.
Definitely not.
Right.
There's no point. You just don't need all those extra calories to sleep. You definitely don't need the carbohydrate.
I know some people come in, have a quick snack and jump into bed.
That's right, they do.
There's other people get up mid in the evening, go for a bit of to the bathroom, and then I'll just jump into the fridge and grab a ham sandwich and then go back to sleep.
Yeah, and sometimes they've really got a sugar addiction problem too. That they've just got to have something sweet all the time, and we really want to work hard to get sugar out of our lives.
So in summary there, it was in the morning we have protein, a little bit of fat if need be, and some greens. And I think it's a great idea putting spinach in there. As we're going through weight loss, if we have a hunger thing, I have a little protein shake. I mean, you showed us some great protein last time. What was it called again?
That was our protein shake, so, and remember, that provides, it's about a 20-gram serve, but no more than 3 grams of carbohydrate per serve.
Right. And then we had the meal, and it's similar to what we did at breakfast, but it has a few extra greens there.
Yeah.
Another shake, and then whatever you're going to have at dinner time with low fat, but have some greens with it. And if you can have it earlier, anywhere between 2 to 4 hours before you go to bed, it's better for you. Yeah.
Yep. And now we're going to add some here. Guess what this is?
Water.
Correct. Yeah, or non-calorie fluids. Absolutely. So you can see we're really building it out, because for a lot of people, dehydration or mild dehydration stimulates hunger. So you want to proactively hydrate. And as we get older, our thirst mechanisms aren't quite as good as they used to be. And we can go all day without having any fluids whatsoever. So water, non-curry, might be, caffeinated drinks in the morning, tea, coffee, things like that, they're fine. So, but practically you want to have that. So here I've got my glass of water here. Keep me well hydrated.
So you're saying that if you're drinking and hydrating throughout the day, now, is it a fallacy that we're supposed to drink 3 liters a day? I know that's the ideal situation, but if I try to drink 3 liters of water a day, Gag.
Absolutely, yeah. I read lots of different things, and from time to time, you do ask me a question that perplexes me, and I have to say, Steve, I don't have the answers to all questions. All I can say is, if you keep some water in front of you and monitoring it, yeah, and if you proactively just be sipping throughout the day, you go into a meeting, they offer you something. Oh, could I have a glass of water, please? If you're traveling in your car, have a walk there. You'll be better off. So there's no doubt your skin, your hair, your concentration, um, your bowel movements, you name it, everything's going to be better off if you stay well hydrated. But look, let's also remember, and these are sort of, all your greens, things like that, they're high in water content. Are we there?
Yep,
We
well, I'm
got
here.
that?
Certainly
Cool.
are.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm not going to be definitive on that. And also, the other question is, you should drink water with your meal and things like that. Um, there are lots of different thoughts on that, but I think just keep in front of you.
Terrific. Now, Nigel and Michelin, have you got any questions about your food planning that you're doing at the moment? I know some of you you're on you're working hard and you're exercising and so forth at the moment. So, Michelin and Nigel, let's go Michelin first. Have you got any questions about your food planning? Because you've always got great questions, Michelin.
I'm doing the intermittent fasting, and it is working actually. I'm not doing anything else. I'm eating normally, and it's really interesting. I'm seeing a change. Um, so if I do intermittent fasting, and I'm going to get my 3 meals in for the day, how much time should I leave between meals?
Well, there is intermittent fasting and there is intermittent fasting. Why don't you give us a bit more detail on what you mean by intermittent fasting?
Okay, so
There's 5-2 plans, there's lots of different plans.
I'm traditionally one of those ones that loves to eat at night.
Hmm.
And that's because I don't start eating till late in the day. I start about 12 or 1 p.m. And so I
That's
find
fine.
myself, I'm just topping up. And then obviously I've got to go to sleep. So one big no-no is I'm not going to go that late. I'll probably finish at 8 from now on. But
Right.
intermittent fasting, I'm trying to leave 16 hours between meals. So the last meal at
Fantastic.
night.
Okay, so get back to your question. So you've got like an 8-16, you got an 8-hour eating window, but from 12 to 8, say, and then you've got a 16-hour non-eating window. So and extending that non-eating window is the goal. And you're completely comfortable with that?
Yeah. Yeah,
Now, but there was a warning sign. You said, whilst you are eating, you eat normally. What do you mean by eating normally?
I just had my birthday. I'm another year older. Lots of cake.
That's okay.
That's not normal. That's all good. You'll be fine. It's a birthday. It's once a year. So
Absolutely. Yes.
I, no, definitely. And I've joined your group now.
Great, great.
So starting this week. But yeah, so is there any set time between meals that you should leave to break up your day?
I don't think so. I
Okay.
think what you're doing is absolutely fine. As long as you're getting adequate protein in throughout the day, that's fine. And whether you get that, I mean, with my Lego blocks, or I should say Carter's Lego blocks. He's my grandson. Hello, Carter, if you're watching. Oh, hello, Riley as well. So, but if you compress those, into a 8-hour eating window, that's absolutely fine, as long as you're comfortable with that.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, in regards to, and good, happy birthday, by the way. I
Thanks.
always like to use as an analogy. Imagine we're on a journey across the desert, and we're walking along the ridges of the sand dunes. And we say to each other, I say to Steve, wouldn't it be fun for us to run down the sand dunes? Woo, it would be lots of fun. But then it would take us a long time to get back up the sand dunes and be a lot of work, and it would delay our trip. So we want to sort of minimize the running down times and try and stay on the top of the ridge. Does that make sense?
Excellent.
great.
Excellent.
Great job.
Love it. Nigel, any questions there, mate?
Oh, just one. I can't see how I'd ever get through a day only eating 120 grams of protein.
Oh, well, that's a minimum, sure. Yeah.
Is that's a minimum? So I
Oh,
just want
so,
to understand. I mean, that's not even a can of tuna.
oh, no, no. Okay, so I think you've really picked me up well, so thank you for doing that. We want to eat enough food that delivers 120 grams of protein.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's not 120 grams of steak, but enough food that
Ah,
delivers 120. Thank you for that question. Fantastic question.
okay.
And that's the
Because
power
I
of a
was
group.
thinking I'm
So
never going to be able to eat again.
no, 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 no. So how much?
So how much protein's in a piece of steak then?
Oh, well, it varies. It varies on the steak. You could go to like curryking.com and you put in any steak and it'll tell you how much protein, how much fat is there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
so
Nigel, are you
I can have
doing?
more than that.
Are you training for building muscle? Is it to lose weight? Is it to become lean and muscular? What's your goal?
Oh, we're eating no hard carbs at all, really. Apart from when the kids come over, I have pizza or something like that. But I've definitely eradicated the hard carbs, which has been good. Um, Again, only when the kids are here will I have the milk and the coffee. So that's this is the last one. But yeah, other than that, we're just taking away those bad things and minimise the sugar. But my God, do I need more than 120 grams?
Oh, no, sure. Yeah, fair. Yeah, great question. And look, how about this last night? Last night we had a very innovative pizza,
Mm,
which had a pork pizza base. So it was made of
okay,
pork mince with all the veggies on top. It was
perfect.
fantastic.
Yeah. No, no, no. It's been good, but definitely don't need the hard carbs. I'm pretty happy with that.
No. And when you're referring to hard carbs, for instance, that means what?
That means obviously the pastas, the rices, the breads, and all that sort of stuff. I'm only having those when the kids are here because they're just used to it. That's what they have at their house. So
Yeah, so why not poison the kids?
yeah, I don't like it. Don't get me wrong, Jamie. I don't like it. But to do the change when, if anyone knows what it's like to have your kids 2 days of 14, to try and change them is not probably worth
Yeah,
it.
sure.
Mm.
Yeah, look, I shouldn't have used the word poison, but as long as you're not giving them sugary drinks.
No, I definitely don't do that. No, we've
Yeah.
actually from you and trying to get control of them, I've changed them to 6 eating times a day. So I've minimised the amount of eating they're doing,
Right.
and they only get fruit. I do have ham and salami and that sort of stuff, and their rolls for lunch, but they
Yeah.
only get fruit and water
Yeah.
as their snacks, and I think that'll. I noticed a big change. We just put it into play. And a couple of times during the day on the weekend, they got all crazy and had to be sort of, and they almost needed it. Whereas normally when they're here, they always asking for food,
All right.
and it almost becomes a habit. But they don't get like that. You could see that there were points in the day where they were ready to eat, and I was really happy with that. It's almost gotten control of them a little bit.
Fantastic. I know
Mm,
when our kids grew up, we let them drink whatever they liked. They could have
mm.
they really had unlimited choice. They could have fridge water or tap water.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting. Mav didn't want his water bottle. He said, "Dad, I want cold water."
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, so no, it's
Now,
interesting.
now, Steve, I did say it's really interesting what Nigel said, and I'd like to segue because I said I wanted to share a personal journey. And do you mind if I share a personal journey which
Oh, that'd
has
be
a
great. There,
nutrition?
look, personal stuff is always best, so it becomes real. I love it. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Well, Steve, when you and I met, I think it was in the 80s when we were working together, I went and did a motivational course. I won't name it. And at the end of that motivational course, it was a 1 day nutrition course. And Ellen and I both decided, oh, we'll give being a vegan a go. And if anybody's vegetarian or vegan from an ideological point of view, uh, there is no criticism for me. Go for it. And so we only had, like the starchy foods, bread, cereals, grains, vegetables, and we did have dairy. No, actually, in the beginning, we didn't even have dairy, so it was completely vegan. So there was no animal products, no eggs, and no dairy. And what I found, and I was teaching a lot of aerobics classes, probably 1 or 2 classes a day. And what I found is I started to put on weight around the midsection, around the gut. And when it came to Saturdays, I used to love going to the baker with that, that I can smell it now, that beautiful fresh bread. And I'd bring it home and I'd slice it up thick. And Saturday, I'd make these big, thick sandwiches, really, really thick, piling on the vegetables. So it was all carbohydrate, a little bit of protein in there, but all carbohydrate. And I'd have one, if not two of these. 60 minutes later, or 90 minutes later, I am falling asleep. As a matter of fact, I got a reputation amongst my friends of going out to dinner and falling asleep. And I'd either have to be prostrate on the lounge, fast asleep, or I'd be on with a coffee machine wanting something sweet. All right. So yes, Michelin, I was absolutely wanting, give me chocolate and things like that. So I suffer what's called reactive hypoglycemia. If I have foods that release a lot of sugar into my bloodstream, my body starts trying to compensate and it overcompensates. And about 90 minutes or 120 minutes later, I'm in a low blood sugar state, falling asleep, because I had taken a drug called food. A drug called food. Now, they say on the highways, they say stop, revive, and survive. Stop, revive, survive. After how many hours driving do they tell you should stop? That's right. Michelin's got
2 hours.
2 hours, correct. Now, is it because we're tired, or is it because the driver woke up, he's already got a bit of a gut on him, which is an indicator of insulin resistance, and he's had cereal and toast or foods that he can have while he's driving, holding in his hands, a hot dog, a roll, a hamburger, sandwich and things like that with a juice and with a piece of fruit, big carbohydrate load, well, more than he can tolerate, body responds, blood sugar up, and suddenly it starts dying. 90 minutes, 2 hours, he's on the road driving, falling asleep. Is he actually falling asleep because he's tired or because of low blood sugar? And it's exactly the same in productivity in the office too. People get there, and their body's over-responded. 10 o'clock, 10:30, they're zonked. It's like they're taking the drug. And they've got to go get the coffee. They've got to go get some sweet foods and stuff like that because they didn't proactively pre-plan their meal, that first meal of the day. And so my personal story is I suffer reactive hypoglycemia, so I've got decreased carbohydrate tolerance. And so the solution for me was to use a drug called food and stop eating those things that created that huge surge in the stream, so that now I'm choosing to eat and my blood sugar's like that and I've got even energy throughout the day and weight control becomes so much easier.
That's great to hear. I mean, I recall that time that we all went together and we had those a lot of people changed their diet, and some people they lost lots of weight, but other people it didn't work for them. And it's really interesting about that 2 hours and having that almost a sleepy afternoon or sleepy morning, because it's not because I'm tired of not getting enough sleep, it's because of the food you're eating. So I'm sure that's going to be really valuable for everybody. With that 2 hours, do you think it's if someone's going to be grazing, and there's lots of stuff about grazing where you have a meal in the morning if you have breakfast, and then have little grazing like let's say carrots and some celery and and you graze on, and a lot of people do pumpkin seeds and those sorts of things, and they graze throughout the day and then have another meal at lunchtime with their protein and graze and then a bit of dinner. What's your thoughts about that?
Well, I like to graze on another fuel called body fat.
Oh,
So,
okay.
okay. So just if somebody can, by being proactive in their food choices, like we've showed you in the Lego, prioritizing protein, keeping the carbohydrates low, so your body starts to hormonally shift to give us more ready access to our stored body fat. Because let's quickly, and I think we might have said this before, if somebody's carrying an extra 10 kilos, that they'd like to lose, every kilo carries 7,700 calories. So 10 is 77,000 calories. See, that's enough calories for you to walk from Sydney to Melbourne without eating and maybe come back half the way to Albury. So it's a bucket load of energy. It's an atomic bomb energy. And so the reason people are grazing and are often on what I call the kindling versus the logs, the quick burnout foods, sugary foods and that give a fast lift but a fast drop as well, is because they don't have access to their stored body fat for fuel. So the best thing to graze on is body fat. Now, we had a love for Michelin there, said that she's quite comfortable on a 16/8 eating platform, so that she's not eating, her non-eating window is 16 hours, but her eating window is 8. So she's actually grazing, but on body fat. So in the fitness industry, we've got fitness clubs that are open 24/7. But what's really exciting, if you can change your body to be a fat burner 24/7.
So instead of actually eating something, you maybe have a glass of water, stop the hunger, or have a little piece of protein and stop snacking all the way through, and that will allow your body start to burn off the reason you're getting hungry is because it needs fuel.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also recognizing, am I grazing because of hunger or for social reasons or just habit? Often it's just damn well habit, because sometimes we're so busy we forget to have a snack, or we're so busy we even forget to have lunch. And if your body has fat adapted because we've been eating the style that we've been discussing here, then skipping a meal or skipping a snack is completely comfortable.
I remember you've got these really nice bars. I must say that when we did a couple of those workshops in Sydney and all around the place, we gave them out to everybody to make sure that we kept them, how can we say, with a little bit of protein throughout the day and not
Absolutely.
having those lollies and so forth. And they're really yummy. Some of those protein bars can be quite useful, or having a shake.
Oh, absolutely. And most protein bars even our protein bars have a little bit more carbohydrate than a shake, but protein bars are very, very convenient. So, we try to help people discover their body's individual carbohydrate tolerance. If they can tolerate a bit more carbohydrate, then we introduce bars as an optional snack, because they carry just a little bit more carbohydrate, maybe a teaspoon of sugar or something like that.
That would
So
be
it's only a tiny little bit extra.
So it's had for the convenience, having a shaker to having in between that breakfast and lunch. So saying instead of actually having cooked protein, I'm sure you could have it into a little Tupperware box, I'm sure, but having a shake you take with you, or you can just mix it up in between. Would that suffice for that protein in between?
Oh, absolutely. And here's just a little practical tip. You can put a scoop of protein powder into a shaker, but do not add water. Carry that round with you, and when you want to go have a shake, just fill it up with water. So you're actually carrying just a protein shaker with powder in it, and you just add water when you need to. And another little tip is, if you can add ice, it sort of volumizes the water. Now, Michelin, I think, did she put a question in the chat there?
She did. She does. What are your thoughts on products like Optimist or Opifast?
Well, yeah, no, definitely. They have been very, very successful with a meal replacement strategy, I prefer to use real food and rely on real food wherever possible. We're just supplementing with between meal snacks to prioritize protein. So we're not replacing. I'm not suggesting you have a protein shake or a protein bar to replace a meal, because there's so many nutrients in foods that we want to get, in fresh foods, and real sources of protein, with fish, meat, eggs, things like that. I think are much higher in nutrient quality. So I think wherever possible, and that's why Steve, the screensaver behind you, has some salmon there and avocado and nuts and seeds and things like that. So we want to be eating the way Steve's screensavers are, I think, primarily.
Great. Well, so in summary, for the planning, if we actually get the amount of protein that's necessary based on our body weight, and it's the full amount of protein, not just the steak and so forth, and then have it intermittently throughout the day. If you're actually getting a little bit hungry, don't just eat for eating's sake. Do it for a reason and make your body a fat burning machine. And would it be an idea if you, in between that period of time, to go for a walk? I saw a documentary the other day that when someone had breakfast and then they measured his blood fat and so forth. It was quite large. He went for a walk and it was significantly lower. Because he had just had a traditional English breakfast, so to speak, and they were measuring it.
I think that is a perfect idea. It's the European idea. If anybody's been in Italy or Greece, at night after dinner, you can see all these people walking around. So I think that, or go dancing or whatever like that. But that's a perfect idea. And see, I know the value, particularly in a meeting, of changing state. You physically change state. When the presidents meet at Camp David, they go for a walk. That's when the problem solving is really happening. It's a change of physical state. And so, I think that's a perfect idea. And a walk during the day, particularly, can help boost your vitamin D levels. And that's really important right now because, as we may have said earlier, there is a little bit of evidence suggesting that people who suffer with coronavirus often have low vitamin D status.
Wow. Okay.
And there's nothing better than getting some sunshine.
Well, didn't they say back in the olden days when they had the Spanish flu or one of the big flus, when they ran out of places to put people and had all these tents, they actually put them outside and they measured it. And the people that were outside in the sunshine, because the air was fresher and they had vitamin D, got quicker than the people that were inside. It was quite an interesting documentary about how they took them from inside, where they're all cooped up with all of the germs flying around everywhere with no vitamin D, and they put them outside, obviously not in the rain, but the people outside got well faster, and they had higher amounts of people getting better outside.
And in addition to that, with all the fantastic efforts with contact tracing when somebody comes down with the virus, I believe the incidence of people picking up a virus from somebody else outside is so close to zero, you might as well call it zero.
Well, that's one of the reasons they're actually saying, let's get all the cafes to have outside dining, and they're quite happy to do that. So that's obviously the government done their research. That's terrific.
Absolutely. So close to zero.
All right. So, Micheline, have you got one extra question for Jamie before we wrap it up for this morning?
No, I just have a comment. So I'm definitely motivated over the weeks of listening to what you're doing. Great reminders. It's now, like Nigel, it's about going on that first couple of weeks and riding through and being very focused and having a big goal. And that's what I'm heading towards. And hopefully over the next few weeks, there'll be more shed off my body.
Well done. And definitely I believe that cold turkey works better than soft landing. So where you immediately, your body starts responding, it's better. And hopefully you've cleaned out all off-plan foods out of your home. Just get it out of there.
She just said
Cake is gone, whatever.
She just ran out all her carbs. All right, terrific. Now, you know that Jamie does have a program that he runs. It's called Diet Flex, that has all the little books and all the recipes with it. And I must say, I've been using some of his video programs with mindset and so forth, exercise to do at home. It's been outstanding. So it's a fantastic resource, Jamie. It's really great. Well done.
It's a pleasure. And, if any of your watchers would like to get our recipe file that they can load up on their iPhone, happy to send it to you, or Steve, give you permission to send it to them. So it'd be a pleasure.
All right, terrific. Nigel, have you got a question for the great man?
No questions. No, just really happy that he's doing this, or you're both doing this, so that we can get ahead. I mean, I find that the more you put yourself in an arena, the more you start to think about it. So, I mean, we wouldn't be thinking about it if it wasn't available. So thanks, Jamie.
It's a pleasure, Nigel. Well, I'm sure that in your golf coaching, you'll be able to, as people bring down their body weight, their powder weight ratio improves. The ability to get around the course, a whole lot of things will improve. So, there might be some flow on benefits.
Yeah, no, it certainly would be. Certainly would be.
Cool.
But thanks, mate. It's good.
It's a pleasure. As I like saying, we'll look forward to seeing less of you.
Well, Jamie,
but for longer.
but for a longer period of time, we'll see less of you. Okay.
So don't forget.
Yes, I love that. Yes. That's a good visual. You did a great VAK today, mate. That was awesome. Always making sure that there's a innovator, and having the camera switch. Now I'm going to have to work out how to plug another one in and do the same. So terrific morning. Thanks, mate. It was awesome.
Okay. Well, thanks to everybody. And Michelin and Nigel, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. All right, gang. So how good was that? Now, I always write stuff down when Jamie's talking because it's always got some absolute nuggets. Having a food planned, making sure that we use our body as a fat burner, and making sure that we, hydrate when we are thirsty. And remember, he said, make sure that you use water, and grog is just for taste, but water is for thirst. If you put things into practice, things happen. If you just sit and say, that was a great a presentation and do nothing, well, guess what? You're going to get the same outcome. It's a doing, just like in sales. If you do your practice, you actually implement, it makes everything work. So put things into practice. And so appreciative to Jamie and grateful for him coming on, sharing his wisdom. And, everything he does, he actually does himself. So action creates results. I'm Dr. J. We'll see you later. Bye for now.